What's up, everybody? Welcome to Living Ardently. I'm Adrian Gurali, and this is my co-host, Jurell. Let's get into it.
That's amazing.
I didn't say anything about the Q&A, but
that's all good. So we are here with another Q&A, and it's July every month. Like you guys may or may not know, Jurell and I go on every month and record a Q&A podcast, and it's always a lot of fun. You guys sent in a bunch of questions from the past few weeks of like those question boxes, and we even have some of the thank you for all those. We're gonna have to use some of them for next month because there's just so many. Because we can only fit so many in here, but we're going to try to rapid fire some quick ones, and then we also have some voice memos, questions that were sent in, so we'll use those too, okay? So, first few, we're going to rapid fire these. Beach or mountains?
beach.
Mountains. I live by the beach.
Beach with mountains, but not mountains with a small beach.
There you go. Yeah. Pizza topping.
Sausage.
Cheese, just regular cheese. I'm a cheese guy. New York style, really.
Nice.
Favorite spirit song.
Shoot. You know that movie Space Jam. The theme song of the movie Space Jam is what it
Come
is
on
right
and slam.
Yeah. That's it.
So if you're going with that, because there's I have a few different songs that comes to me when I hear that, but like the first one comes up is like All the Poor and Powerless, because that was my conversion song. Like it was so good. Like that one, I was like, oh man, okay, that's me. But like the other half of that is 24 Karat Magic. So if you want to match that,
that is you too.
So like that is my like.
There's so many songs, bro.
Call.
I mean, Chance the Rapper has so many songs that I feel I'm resonating with right now. So that's on my playlist right now. But I can't really identify a song.
Definitely, it's hard. But there's so many good music, and I think what's his name? Lecrae just released.
Oh man,
a new album, and I haven't gotten to listen to it, but I've heard so many good things already, and it's just been a day.
My songs are evolving as like my life and experiences are evolving. So the new Hillsong also is like on repeat. I don't even know if it's new, but it's new to me. I just say, Alexa, play Hillsong Worship. Oh, she might start, but and some new stuff's coming on. It's so good. It's so good.
One song that if you haven't listened to, I highly recommend listening to is "Belovedness" by Sarah Kroger. Oh man. If you're not gonna be like, you're not mentally prepared for that song. I was weeping when I first heard it. I was like, oh, new song by Sarah, and I started crying. So it's good. So go give it that a listen. All right, favorite saint and Bible verse. My favorite saint I usually go for. It's always like a toss up of. Blessed Giorgio. I know he's not a complete saint yet, but Blessed Giorgio Frassati, and then Maximilian Kolbe. Like those guys are just like my two tier, just like men of holiness and sacrifice. And then Bible verse is Isaiah 43:1. Fear not, for I have redeemed you. I've called you by name. You are mine.
Oh man,
that was my conversion verse as well. And that's what I started my T-shirt company, the AHG Designs, that had redeemed on the front.
Yeah, that was so
for
good.
a while. So that was it.
I think I might adopt that as my favorite verse from here. I feel like I was just converted just now.
Isn't that amazing? Yeah, it's great.
Conversion over and over again. Fear not. For what? Fear not, for I have called you by name.
Fear not, for I have redeemed you.
Oh.
I have I called you by name. You are mine.
That's so good.
Right.
There's so many good ones. The one that I think that motivates my work with living person and just like in life as a Catholic is Matthew 18:20 is where two or three are gathered in my name, there I am in the midst of them. and talking about like presence of Jesus and the presence of the Spirit. Like, what does it take? It just takes one other person. So like, here's church, like even through the interwebs. So that's cool. But then so many other ones that just hit your heart, but we can go on and on and on. Right. And then favorite saints are
that's a great one.
Saint Francis and Saint Ignatius, and I think they work well together. This like idea of like contemplatives in action. So when I think about Saint Francis, I think about poverty. Yeah. And humility and the ways in which we're called to that. And then when I think about Saint Ignatius, I think like administration, because he was like a boss of an administrator, like trying to build a team like all the way around the world, globally. And then I also think about his spiritual exercises, the 30-day silent retreat that all Jesuits, and then also a lot of like our Cleveland diocesan priests are going through now. And then the theology of discernment, a lot of that comes from Ignatius. Yeah. So I know a lot about Ignatius and St. Francis. They're my favorites for sure.
Awesome. Yeah. Ignatius is also up there for me. Another question that I forgot to somebody sent in through text message that I just remembered. They said, thoughts on non-mask wearers. Was it anti-maskers? And
you go first, bro. You go first.
I'm just gonna put a muzzle on myself.
Where's mine?
Definitely wear your mask. There's people out there that are just the painful thing, bro. It's all in my state.
It is in your state.
It just feels like they're all in Florida, like super
15,000 a day. I heard about that. That was the last one I heard. Is 15,000 a day.
Yeah, it was like earlier this week.
I was like, man, 1,500. That's a lot. I'm like 15,000. It's 15,000.
Right. So you wear your mask, people, especially Florida. I did a PSA like on my personal account where I just like the candle test where you like put your mask on. Yeah. Just pass the candle test, by the way, where like you have to blow your candle out with your mask on, and it can't blow out, and it didn't. So wear your mask just so you don't spread your stuff, and it's not. And it, like nurses have proven that. Like nurses and doctors have proven that it doesn't do anything to your breathing. Like you get the same amount of oxygen. You don't get it. You don't get overwhelmed by CO2, and or is that the right thing? I don't know.
I think so. Carbon dioxide or something.
Carbon dioxide, yeah. So you don't get overwhelmed by that. So just I don't know, just for the sake and love for people. And don't shame people who don't. I mean, who decide to wear it, because that's another thing. People are like shaming those. Like you're just like a friend of mine posted on her story on Facebook that somebody came up to her and her son and saying, "He's like, you're making your son a sheep for wearing a mask," and then started trying to talk to her son, and then she backed away with her son and pulled him back, and he's like, "What, are you afraid?" Like, got closer, and I was like, "Are you crazy?" It's like, no, even with that, if 6 feet wasn't a thing, like you're getting too close to me and my son. Right. And then a police officer came in and saw what was going on and stepped in between them and told them, you need to back off or I'm going to arrest you.
Dang.
And so, yeah, wear your mask and don't get up in people's faces. Be nice.
Yeah, please be nice. It's just tough. I've like seen a lot of people online and offline that I really love and respect that have that opinion. It's like, dang, and I don't know how to navigate that stuff. Right. Except like that was my story yesterday. It's like, we have to somehow convince ourselves that the people that have like incredibly different views from us are still good. Right. Because if we lose that, we lose something really, really big at the very least, right? At the very least. Right. So it's super frustrating. I mean, obviously wearing a mask, but like I will say, like it's uncomfortable. Like, I'm super self-conscious when I'm out in public with my mask. I'm like, you just like all of a sudden like with everything, it's like with racism, with COVID, with all these things that are divisive, it's like
right.
I can't go anywhere without feeling uber judged. You know?
Right.
Whether or not that's happening,
Yeah.
that's what it feels like, you know?
Yeah,
like
yeah.
I've got my mask on, I feel uber judged. I've got my mask off, I feel super judged. You know, like so trying to navigate this world is really tough, but I think the only short answer is you got to pray because like when you bring this stuff to God will speak to your heart the courage to just be like you got nothing to prove to anyone, you know, like and wear your mask. Like if that's where you're at, like God's telling me like just wear your mask, bro. Like no one's judging you. Like keep people safe and da da da. And I know like I'm not trying to get into a scientific debate. This is where I'm at. You know what I mean? Like
right. Yeah.
Please respect it. So yeah.
That's great. Yeah. It definitely very confusing times, but that's some great tips. You know. Our next question is 3 books that changed our lives. What are the 3 books in your life that changed your life? So, do you have your 3 books?
Yeah.
All right, go for it.
So number 1 is this is the number 1 book that I advise everybody to read. It's called Tattoos on the Heart, The Power of Boundless Compassion. It's by Father Greg Boyle. Father Greg Boyle founded Homeboy Industries in LA, I think maybe 20 or 30 years ago, a long time ago. So don't quote me on the years, but he was convinced that like the only way to stop gang violence is to be amongst them and to be amongst them, to not be afraid of them, to stop demonizing them, and to help them get a job. So Homeboy Industries basically will work with them to get a job. So for example, you know, like there's a tendency to want to like pray things away, and I'm always preaching on Living Person that like prayer isn't a magic trick. Like there's work to do.
Right.
You know, so Father Greg Boyle was like, okay, like we're going to have mass with these people that want to work with us, but at the same time we're going to provide like practical resources for gang members to get a job. So he basically was like, what's one thing that I can do to help former gang members that want to walk away to get a job? He invested thousands of dollars into a tattoo removal device.
Wow.
So there's a guy that came to him with F the world on his forehead. And Father Greg Boyle, through Homeboy Industries, removed that tattoo and got that person a job. It's a weird thing when like he was explaining that it's a weird thing that somebody in a gang has this spiritual inner conversion, right? Where they authentically want to change, except their outside appearance hasn't, like it, no one knows it from the outside appearance. So he talks about how like that simple technology of removing a tattoo allowed him to have a fuller conversion, like spirit and body, you know? And now when he goes into it for an interview, it won't say F the world on his forehead, you know?
Yeah.
So if you want to talk about social justice, this is like the best, I think, starting point, because there's so many practical stories in there. Number 2 is a book called The Ignatian Adventure, and it's the book that my spiritual director took me through to go through the spiritual exercises of Saint Ignatius. And it's super powerful. It's like a retreat. It takes you through. So, and that book is meant to be read with another person. But that one changed my life. And then the last one is a businessy type of book, but also very like ministry focused and service focused. Like in what ways can your talents contribute to the world? So that book is called Never Eat Alone by Keith Ferrazzi. So if you're interested you need to read that one. It is like, that's where I got all this stuff about the art of the collab and like relationships, and it's so good. It's so good. So those are my 3.
Those are your 3. So my 3, those are great. I've heard of the Never Eat Alone, but I've never read it. My first one is Life of the Beloved by Henry
Oh, I
Nouwen.
have that one.
Oh, dude, like, if you have struggled ever at all with knowing your belovedness, this was amazing. We read it at my small, and it's such an easy read. Like, it's not hard at all. Large print, and like we're having like all of our catechists read this.
That's
you know,
awesome.
like that's like something we want all of them to have read or to read, as well as Art of Forming Younger Disciples. That's another one I just recently read that is so good. It's all about how young people have lost small. I mean, I've read this before, but it's like, it's like I reread it recently, and it's like how young people are growing up in a peer led like world, where it's like back in the day there was like mentorship, right? And mentorship is not common amongst young people anymore.
Wow.
So that's why they're like, the idea of the book is to encourage youth ministers and youth ministries to stop doing the model of youth ministry that they're doing now, which is come with the kids and you like do games with them, do all that stuff, and that's it. But doesn't raise intentional disciples in the long run. They maybe stay Christian, they stay Catholic up to the point of their, the time they go away for college, and then that's usually it.
Mm-hmm.
But if you really want to form lifelong disciples, the tip is in that book is to start small groups, and his reasonings for it in that book is amazing. So go read that if you're in ministry, or if you have a teen, read it. Like, or if you are someone who loves, loves working with young people.
It's important. I mean, it's so important.
Even
Because,
with each other. I mean, millennials, people my age even, we don't normally, like, mentorship was just leaving our like mentality,
Mm-hmm.
I still feel more peer led than I was mentor led,
Like, I feel like that's something that we've lost in our church is like like the ability to have small groups. Like there's so much focus on Sunday, which is like our large group, but like if you're a youth minister, like what is the capacity that you can handle? Like, is it 10, 20, 30,
Right.
40, 60?
Right.
Like how many relationships, authentic relationships can one youth minister possibly form?
Right.
And that's the beauty of your core team. And
Right.
I would encourage you to stop calling them your core team and start calling them your youth ministers.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's what they are. Because they like, if you have one core team member, they can have 30, like 20, 30 relationships.
Right.
And then if you have two, they can also have 20.
Yeah.
So you gotta build your people, your team. And I love the language of director of youth ministry, because then you're directing and
Right.
building this. It's like an orchestra, right? Like
Right.
your core team member loves fishing, then they take a group of like group of teens that love fishing to go fishing and start a mentorship and like communicating their faith. But the youth minister model, I think, is limiting. It's very limiting.
Right.
So build a team.
Totally. Like, you can see it. Like, I know that, like, if you're a youth minister, like, there's a small group of teens that are close to you, and then another 40, 50 kids that are not.
Yeah, they go under the radar. Like, admit it. Like, even for me, I've got like 4, 5. Maybe I could stretch it to 7, but and then the other 60 that come, it's like, I wish I could, but I just like, we just don't have the capacity for that.
Right.
That number of relationships. So it's
and a small tip for those of you who are youth ministers who have trouble finding volunteers. You have volunteers out there. You just they don't know their capacity, and you have to affirm them. So you need to know from your relationships amongst your parishioners who you think would be good mentors for your teens, right? And so that's why being part of your parish is just as important as being part of your, in your in the teen culture. Like you have to be very involved in your own parish, and understanding who are those like young adults, or if you don't have young adults in your campus, like who are those adults who are leading the Bible studies, who are going to these Bible studies, who are doing these things, these ministries at your church, and who have that missionary heart, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they're out there, and there's a ton of them, and don't let their age scare you away, because like as much as teens are spiritually led, they still will cling to adulthoods for inherently look for advice,
Absolutely.
So just go out there, affirm the people when you see them, and then reach out to them. Like, hey, like we're trying to build these small groups, but first and foremost, read our Forming Young Disciples by Everett Fritz, and I have a
Fritz.
I have the book. I have the Kindle version of it here. You can see it right there. This one.
Nice.
And it's a red cover, so like if you're a visual person, you'll remember it that way. I also have the digital version of Henry Nouwen's book, and this is the one book I just started reading. I forgot. The last book of mine is I took a course in college called it was an apologetics course, C.S. Lewis, so all C.S. Lewis books. So I always like which is my favorite. I always have trouble with. So it's either like Mere Christianity, Screw Tape Letters. Screw Tape Letters is so good, like that one is underrated. But I
remember reading that and it changed my life. That was so good.
Yeah, it's just so like hearing like how like the devil, because it's like a senior devil and a younger devil like mentor letter writing,
Yeah.
And you just see the progression of how they work in us, and it's just really interesting. So like, and I was like, wow, that's like me. Like, oh my gosh, is that where the devil's working in my life? You just kind of calls yourself out and become more aware of your spirituality. So if you're struggling with that, go for that. But my favorite book is The Four Loves with C.S. Lewis. I actually have 2 copies. I have several copies of this book because I give it out to people to read. From this book comes my favorite line ever by C.S. Lewis, which is, to love at all is to be vulnerable. And that is something that is like my mantra personally. And if I can find it for you guys. It's in this book he says, to love at all is to be vulnerable. Love anything and your heart will be wrung and possibly broken. If you want to make sure to keep it intact, you must give it to no one, not even an animal. You should wrap it up carefully around your hobbies and little luxuries. Avoid all entanglements. Lock it up safe in your casket or coffin of your selfishness. But in that casket, safe, dark, motionless, airless, it will change. It will not be broken. It will become unbreakable, impenetrable, and irredeemable. To love at all, to love is to be vulnerable. And
that's so good.
Right? Like, so ouch. For someone like myself who used to struggle with being vulnerable and sharing my heart and telling people how I feel, I feel like any angsty teenager, right? Like, wouldn't really want anybody into their heart. That spoke volumes to me. Into wanting to, allowing not just people, but Christ into that pain. Like, yeah, he knows what you're going through, but unless you allow him in and be vulnerable with him and cry with him and tell him, Lord, I am suffering through this and I need you, like how do you reconcile with that, And so vulnerability changed my life. In this book, that one line, I remember like reading this book and studying for an exam, And I just like started weeping. I was like, oh, became a spiritual journey. It was supposed to be an educational one. But
That's funny.
but it's it works hand in hand, and and it was beautiful. And so if you struggle at all with like that vulnerability and something stuff like that, I would highly recommend reflecting and meditating on that verse and seeing how that could maybe change how you interact with people.
Yeah, cool. That was beautiful, dude.
Yeah.
You give me lots of good content today. Oh, man. Right. C.S. Lewis, The Four Loves.
Yeah, Four Loves. And then our next question before our break is, if there is one miracle that you could have witnessed that Christ performed, which would it be? And why?
For me, it's walking on water.
Oh, yeah.
Because what's more interesting to me when Jesus walks on water is that he what does he do? He tells Peter to come and walk on water, and Peter actually does walk on water.
Yeah.
And then he's got this great line of like, I can't remember what exactly it is, but like, why so little? Like, why did you lose faith? You know?
Yeah. Oof.
And then there's a scriptural debate on whether Jesus meant, why did you lose faith in me, or why did you lose faith in yourself? And like, why did Peter lose faith in himself? Yeah. Because Jesus is the great empowerer. You know what I mean? So, and I like both interpretations. You know, like both of them I think can work. Because. Yeah. So I would have loved to see that. I mean, just that like dynamic of like witnessing like how that worked out, to see both of them like it's like a Star Wars movie or something, you know, like all this chaos, and then like Jesus is just like chilling walking on water, and then Peter's like
imagine the recent movie, what was it? Episode 9, when they're like fighting on the water.
Yes, like, exactly. That's what I was thinking about. Yeah.
That's amazing.
So yeah, good stuff.
That's a really good one. Mine is it's gonna sound funny, but I would love to be at the wedding at Cana.
Oh, me too.
Not because of the wine, partially because of it, but because of it was his first one.
I know, that's amazing.
And this actually I learned this I remember going back in my elementary school, my art teacher shared, like, this is where I learned the first miracle of Jesus, was in my public school art teacher, where she shared with our entire class the first miracle of Jesus Christ. And I was like, wow, if she did that today, she would not be teaching. like I know they could, like, she could still swing it to like art and stuff like that, but it was I just remember that so vividly as I think second grader. And I was like, wow, like that was brave. Last year I remembered it, and so I tried to find her and reach out to her to say thank you for teaching me about my first miracle. In a public school, and she never, I don't know if she ever got it, if she ever responded, but I typed up a whole like thank you like email to her, because I was like, this taught me so much, and
that's amazing.
I was just very thankful for your witness at that, like, as much as I didn't hit me then, it hit me now as an adult. I never got a response from her, I don't think, but it was so cool to see that too. But yeah, so miracle, wedding to Cana, just to be able to see Jesus, like, I don't know, I can imagine myself being, like, I want to imagine myself being the person that Mary talks to after he tells Jesus to do whatever, like, I was like, get those barrows and do whatever he says. I'm like, yes, ma'am. Like, I just, I would fangirl.
Yeah.
So that's
I love that story. That's one of my favorites too. I mean, there's so many, right? But I love how it was just something so normal. Like, no one's sick, It was just, I guess, like a family affair, and to run out of wine in that time was an embarrassment for the family. Just imagine the ways that your family might be embarrassed if they held a party, and then I love the dynamic of like how Mary, it's like, oh, like it's time. And I love this dynamic that it could be that Mary decided that it was time, you know?
Right, yeah.
And it's, because isn't it that Jesus says it's not my time yet?
It's not my time yet. And he pre-warned her, like, you know what this means. Like you know, it's like, you know what happens if this happens. And she goes,
holy
I know.
cow. Holy cow.
Get those sparrows and do what he says. So it's just like, oh, okay.
So I mean, I love that dynamic. Like, dude, there's so much in Scripture. If you're just like scared of Scripture, please don't. There's so much that relates to my own personal life. You know, like, and especially now as like as a father, like a mother asking her teenage son something. I hope that I get that moment, but so I just feel like it's so relevant, and I know that there's a lot of BS that you got to get through to find meaning in Scripture, especially if you're a little bit disconnected, but lean into that discomfort and try to reach out to people that are really impacted by Scripture, so you can find all the goodness that's in it, because it's really, like, we're getting so excited about this miracle story. So
it's true though. It's true. I mean, like, and that's why I am such a big proponent of people who speaking to those who are not Catholic, who might have a better understanding of of the Scriptures, so I can so I myself can understand them more, but also doing my own duty as a Christian, as a Catholic, to kind of look into it and see where it is, because I'm such a visual learner, and that actually is really cool, because if you're a Catholic on Instagram, you've probably heard of this already, the Word on Fire Bible. Dude, this thing was awesome. Like, just like reading every day's Gospels off of this, and then reading the reflections given by whoever. I mean, I'll be most of the, if not all of the Scripture daily the Gospels have been through Matthew, so most of the reflections have been by Bishop Barron. And I'm just such a visual learner, and this weekend's readings are this is what they paired up for this weekend's readings on. Oh, the Call of Matthew, favorite artwork. If you're gonna ask me ever,
so good. That artwork is so good.
Yeah. If you ever ask me what my favorite painting is, it's the Call
of
Matthew.
Let me see it again.
Oh. Here we go.
Yeah, it's so good. I think that's by Caravaggio.
Yeah, it is, and I just love how the finger of Jesus, the light shining down onto Matthew, and he's like, me? And I was like, yes, you.
My favorite is also by Caravaggio. It's the Call of Saint Paul, I think. I forget what exactly it's called, but it's like the conversion of St. Paul, and St. Paul's falling off his horse. That exact same artist, that exact same dramatic style. And you know how the light in that picture, it comes from the window and like follows Jesus' finger. Light, all of the light in that picture comes from Paul's chest. It's
really?
like phenomenal.
I don't know if I'm familiar with that.
Can I show you really quick?
Yeah, dude.
I'll share my screen.
Yeah. As you're doing that, this is for this weekend's readings. This is the artwork that they put from what's his name, Van Gogh.
Wow.
It relates to this weekend's Scripture, and then they break it down into like the textures and the cypress trees and why he used certain things, and it's like, guys, like, come on. This is so like cool. Such a great Bible, and I can't wait for the rest of the things, or the rest of the whatever Bible parts that they break it down into, because I will be the first one to grab it.
All right, here we go. Here it is right here. This is by Caravaggio.
Oh, wow.
And St. Paul falling off his horse. Somebody here, like, just like the emotion and the lighting, and like, and if you notice all of the light, it's the strongest right here. It's like, it's like it's like an orb.
Yeah, wow.
Right here, and look at St. Paul's soldier garb, the sword.
Oh wow!
Just like
it's in the dark.
Yeah, but this Roman soldier that was persecuting Christians on his way somewhere, and then boom, you know, that's not your path. Like, that's not your path anymore. So
Wow.
it's just so good. And like how many of us, I don't know about you, but me, like I was on my own path to do my own thing, and then boom, retreat.
All right.
You know, like first time in adoration, boom,
Boom, there it is. Yeah.
180.
Our next, after the break, we'll actually have a question that relating to that. So we'll take a quick break right here, and we'll be back with more questions. So, Jurell, I hear that you had a successful reopening of the shop.
Yes. So a ton of people showed up to help promote our new T-shirt. The pre-orders are done, but it's gonna come back in about a month. We ordered like 40. So if you're missing that T-shirt, or if you missed the launch, then you can still buy one. But there's only gonna be 40 of them when they come back. But otherwise, we still have some T-shirts in the shop that are still ethically sound, and you can check those out. We have 3 of them in the shop right now. We have the black TLP logo, like right in the front. That tee. We have the AMDG embroidered. It's black with white. The white with burgundy is coming back, but that's not up yet. But then the white Defend Life tee is also up in the shop. So
I love that they're still embroidered. I mean, at least for the AMDG one. So that's exciting.
Yeah, it's very exciting. And then just stay tuned because we have some other upcycling projects coming up. So
cool.
That's the next thing, is to introduce an upcycle line. And I'm hoping to launch that in the next month.
Describe what an upcycle means for the people who don't know.
Upcycling is taking, so like in this journey to figure out like what options are ethical. The most ethical is to just not buy. Right. So there you go. I'm asking you not to buy our clothes because you don't need any more. You might want them, but in the case that you absolutely need a T-shirt, and that's my goal, is to create T-shirts that people absolutely need because it like helps them make sense of a faith experience that can help them, you know. So if you need a T-shirt, we're trying to create ethical sourced garments. And what's more ethical than going with Alta Gracia or like this e-conscious brand that we're going with is to take gently used clothing and then to embroider on it and or screen print on it. So this is gently used. I'm wearing it right now. And what I might do is just put a logo on it, you know. So nice. So that way we're not producing more clothing because there's so much clothing out there. Yeah. And I will say that, like, you know, like when H&M and some other fast fashion brands come out with a new line every 2 weeks, what happens when they don't sell those clothing, those garments, let's just say millions, thousands, hundreds of thousands of T-shirts that they don't sell, is that they take them and they burn them because like, you can't give them away to, quote, poor people because it deteriorates the brand. Right. You know, so they slash the T-shirts and then they burn them. And all that stuff like affects the environment, and when it affects the environment on the other side of the globe, it affects the people that live around there. Right. Like imagine if you live somewhere close to the place where they're burning all those garments, which is people's real life. So there's so much. If you haven't watched the video or the documentary, watch it. If you have some time, it's called The True Cost, and it'll open your eyes a little bit to why we're doing this. So no judgment. I mean, I don't want to be the person that is judging you for like your choices. Your brand, but this is just where I'm at. I'm trying to make sense of like my contribution to the fashion industry and evangelization. So and it's been an interesting process. So
definitely. So
check out the shop at thelivingperson.com and just click shop, and you'll see what options are available. And thank you for the support.
Yeah, and make sure, and you also have your Redbubble. So if you want to get stickers, that's another thing you do have. So all of that, I'll have those links in the description. But you can also go to the Living Person's Instagram account, and there'll be in the link in the description there too. Cool.
Perfect. Thanks, y'all.
All right, let's get back to the episode.
We're back.
We are back.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Adrian Giraldi.
Love it. So we are.
I love how you're right. I said Jesse Straub.
Yeah, Stroob.
Stroob. She ended her story with "Keep living ardently, guys."
Right? I love it. I had
She even went like that.
Yeah. Confession. I had her She had sent me one, and I was like, "Can you re-record it?" Keep living ardently. Because Delaney, one of my other writers, she came on and shared like a book suggestion on the story one. So I'm trying to get them more on the page, so it's less of me, more of them.
Yeah.
More of an us thing, because I just that's one thing I want to be very unique to Living Ardently, that it's a team, like a very facial team, not just me. And Delaney did it, and she was like, "Keep living ardently, peace." I was like, "Hey, that was awesome!" Like, you ended it with that. That's so cool. So
I thought that was a big move. Like, it was a subtle move, but from my marketing brain, like, I was like, yes. That's so good.
So it's exciting.
So
I love it too. So it's just like, I can now get shirts that say "Keep living ardently."
I know,
Peace, right?
with a peace sign. Right. That's exactly what I thought about.
Right. So maybe someday we'll get into working with e-commerce. Like, what was the name of the brand?
E-Conscious, but I'll walk you through it. We do it through a print-on-demand company called Printful.com. And they have some ethical options on there. Actually, they have one that I'm pleased with, and it was you can check out like the Defend Life tee, and you can see how thorough they are with
cool.
Where it comes from. So yeah,
cool. Yeah, so we will maybe potentially work towards that later on. So we'll see. Okay.
Cool.
So the next question we do have is: was becoming a youth minister always part of your plan?
I love these youth ministry questions.
Right? Yeah.
We should do a separate episode just on youth ministry. That'd be sick.
Yeah, that would be really good, right? We should do that. Yeah. How did you get into youth ministry, and was it always your plan? For me, originally it wasn't part of my plan, but it became part of my plan when I let Jesus into like part of my life, right? So like basically I wanted to be a graphic designer. I wanted to work or an animator, and I wanted to work for the whole main goal was to either design for Disney or to animate for Disney Pixar. And that was like a dream, to make you cry through animation, or through make you swoon over a design, like I don't know, just like something like that. And that was always the goal. But then after 1 year in community college studying graphic design, and doing 4 years of TV and film in high school, I loved it as much as I loved it. I did not, I just had this calling, because within that time frame, I also had my conversion, and I was helping and leading our youth group as a teen and a young adult. And I had this like kind of calling to it. But I was like, I'm gonna go for the pathway that's gonna make me successful with money, because that was my family's idea of success, was having a big income, and then I think I've shared this before. Long story short, I felt called to youth ministry. I decided to go to Ave Maria University and study theology, with the intent of going into youth ministry, because my pastor said, if there's a calling, he said I was doing spiritual direction with him, and he had told me two things. One, you cannot give what you do not have, and so you need to go study. So that was like the first initial reason why I wanted to learn about our faith and to study the faith and to share that faith. And then two, I came back and I had no more money. He decided he was going to pay for my semester. I was like, Father, that's not why I came here. I'm just coming here for spiritual direction. And he's like, I know. But financial reasons are not going to be the reason why you don't follow the call that you're being called to.
Whoa.
And I was like, that's the first time I've ever been told that I had a call. So it's just like, okay, I guess this is where I'm going. And so, and that's when it really became like, I need to study hard. I need to make sure that I can be the best version of a youth minister as I can be. And I know I'm going to fail, but I know that I'm going to pursue it as much as I can. So it wasn't always my plan, but it became my plan as life kind of progressed. So yeah. And this is the career I'm going to be in until I'm too old for it, and then I'll
Wow, that's dope.
maybe then I'll go into campus ministry like Jurell does.
Youth ministry is amazing.
Yeah,
It's amazing.
you were a youth minister at some point too, and you're doing campus ministry now. Was that part of your plan?
I think so, and I guess like I had my, we keep talking about conversion experience, so I had my conversion experience when I was 18. It was my first retreat. I was Catholic all my life, but first retreat just like set it off, like like off to the races. You know what I mean? Like very Saint Paul. Like I was in a punk rock band and a metal band both at the same time. Had a group of friends. Had a group of friends that just like were not really good for me. Like they were still good people, but like there were some like really shady moments. You know what I mean? Like I would walk into band practice and like half of them would be like high or on shrooms, and then one time they were doing acid. I was like, wow, this is not what I planned. You know what I mean? Like, so then I went on retreat. I was like, wow. So anyways,
that's awesome.
Within a year I was in seminary, did seminary for a year, just turned out, and then by that point I was like, okay, it's either going to be teaching or ministry. Like I don't know where or how, but that's what it is. My story goes a little bit farther because I had already done a year of service teaching in a school, and then did ministry in a college level as a grad assistant, and then I had been studying in graduate studies in theology for my master's, and decided that I really wanted to try and be a theology professor, like a Catholic theology professor. So I applied to 5 PhD programs.
Oh wow! And
I was waiting back, feeling really confident. And I remember having this moment with one of my friends. He's like, "So, where are you feeling now? Like, what's going to happen if you don't get in?" I was like, "I mean, that's a good question, but." He's like, "Have you ever thought about youth ministry or working at a parish?" And this, I'm not proud of this response, but this is what I said back in 2013. I said, like, I don't have anything against working at a parish, but I just feel like, and then he finishes my sentence and he goes, "You feel like a little bit too good for youth ministry?" I'm like, I mean, yeah, like, and I didn't get in. I didn't get into my PhD program. Man. So here's me like thinking that I'm gonna study theology at the PhD level. Didn't get in, and the only jobs available, bro, youth ministry jobs. Like, talk about being humbled.
Right. Oh man.
And like, I'm laughing about it now, but like my identity was kind of like destroyed. I was like,
bet. Yeah.
So I took a job at the largest parish in Cleveland with a pastor that had this reputation of like being very big. I love him, Father Bob Steck, and I was like, man, this is big work, Yeah. So I walked into like a youth group of like already 100 some teens, I think, and I was like, okay, here we go. So I remember driving into the parking lot my like first or second day. Maybe it might have been like the third day. Feeling like some tension, like this is not what I planned. You know what I mean? And then I remember turning on Matt Maher's like live album. Maybe it's like All the People Said Amen. And after one of the songs, he does a live rendition of Here I Am, Lord. It's like, Here I Am, Lord. And then it just hit, it's like here, because then I was listening and crying, sobbing in my car outside of like the office parish building, because I'm listening, God speaking to me through Matt Maher. It says, "Here I am, Lord. Is it I, Lord? Like, is it me? Like, did you actually call me for this work to do youth ministry? Is it I have called you. I've heard you calling in the night. I will go, but only if you, I'll go into that building, but only if you lead me. I will hold your people in my heart." So that settled everything for me. Wow. It's like this one powerful moment of like, I know this wasn't your plan. And I know that you're upset, but this is where I need you, you know? So
That's
That was one
awesome.
of the most like anointed years of my life. I only did 1 year because it didn't prove to be beneficial from my first year of that was my first year of marriage.
Oh yeah.
All the nights and all the weekends on family dinner nights on Sundays just didn't work
Right.
for my schedule. But I loved the work. I loved the work and building a team. And then after that I went to teaching, and I fell in love with teaching
Yeah.
high school kids, which was not my plan either.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I think it's been since 2013. It's been 7 years, and I've
Wow.
completely let go of PhD work up until
Recently.
the COVID. Yeah, up until recently. So I'm like, maybe it'll happen. But like
That's
the
awesome.
amount of fruit that has happened by letting go of my stupid dream. I mean,
Yeah.
it wasn't stupid. I was just trying to
Yeah.
force it. I was trying to force it so badly. But
Yeah.
this is the Christian story. Like, we've got our
It's true.
plans, but like God's got something way better if we can
Right.
just find a way to let him sneak into our heart and do the work.
Right.
You know,
Right.
so
And that's huge. It's huge. Once you do that, there's no going back.
I
you
know. I know.
So I mean, there is. You can still like veer off and get mad and hold some, but at the same time, it's just like once you let him in, he's gonna work and he's gonna do whatever necessary to keep you with him. So
Totally
um,
agree.
and
So
you
good
just have to
stuff.
say yes, and that's it.
Amen.
And then the question, the next question is really funny, and I want to get the exact wording because it is pretty good. This is from one of my young adults, actually. She asked, "Has there been a time where you were frustrated at a retreat because of a teen, and if so, why?" And yes. So one of our first retreats as a youth minister, Steubenville, Florida, 2018, I think it was. As a youth minister, I've been at Steubenville, Florida, years after years. So as a retreatant, as a volunteer, as someone who's social media manager for the retreat. Like, I was doing all of that before I became a youth minister. So I was very familiar. And so Steubenville, Florida, for me was just always like a family reunion of Catholics, like people I haven't seen in so long. And so my teens were like, "Oh wow, like why do you know everybody?" Da 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 da. Like, it's like, "How do you are you famous?" I'm like, "No, I'm not." Like, "What is your secret life?" I'm like, "No, there's nothing. I just Catholic world is small." And then my supervisor at the time, he was with me as a other chaperone. I was like, don't piss Adrian off. You listen to him, and because he was the enforcer, and
Yeah.
I was Mr. Zealous. I was super
Yeah.
outgoing and the youth minister, the young youth minister that was there. So like people, he says like Adrian's happy and he's nice, but if you hit one wrong nerve during retreat and it's gonna be bad. Like I was like, and I know I haven't seen Adrian snap, but this might be the first one, so don't make him snap. And I was like, nah, well, I'll be fine.
Yeah.
Just listen. And then it happened. Like we were at a point, like I had gotten zero sleep because some of the kids wouldn't sleep at night, and we were like patrolling halls, making sure that they would. They finally did. And then basically retreat weekend, you get no more than like 8 hours the entire weekend.
The entire weekend.
Yeah. So I get like 4 hours of sleep that night, or like less than I don't know, I don't remember. And I'm cranky, but like I'm there for the retreat experience. I'm there for the joy. And I like halfway through or no, towards the latter half of Saturday night, just before like I think before the praise and the adoration session, right? Praise, like we have certain amount of seats in a row in these blocks of chairs, and we had to scoot. We needed to get some teens from that row that's in front of us to the one that we were in, so that we weren't taking other seats from the assigned seats from the other parish. And so I tapped two of my teens to move over here to the row behind us, or to the row next to us. And he goes and he does this. He goes what? And I'm like, and I was like, I need you guys to come move over here because Like, mind you, the music is loud and blaring. And he's like, I was like, for what? He's like, for what? I'm like, Because I told you. Get your butt over here. And I got him out, and he's taller than me, and I was in his chest. I was like, do not talk to me like that. I was just like, I had lost it. I was like, the disrespect from the kid in general was like, I love him. He's so funny. But like, we like laugh about it now. But like, that was like the moment I was like, you need to listen to me when I tell you, because it's just, I'm not going to tell you something just to freaking mess with you. I'm going to tell you something because we have to do it. And I'm like, I don't know. I just said so many things, but I didn't like cuss at him or anything. I was just in his chest. Then, mind you, my supervisor was like talking to somebody, and he turns around and he goes like, oh shit. What's going on?
Oh my
Adrian
gosh.
snapped.
And he was talking about you snapping. That's funny.
Yeah, and he goes like, it's like, what did Omar do? And he went to Omar. Oh shoot. He went to the kid and he said, what did you do? You broke him.
I hope that's one of your highlights for Instagram. Because I told you.
Because I told you.
That's so good.
So that's the story for that one. You have one of those?
I don't have one of those, no. But it happens, you know.
That's my
it
favorite
happens
one because it's the first one.
But yeah, I mean, like, we're human, you know.
Yeah.
Youth ministers aren't perfect.
Yeah,
we get frustrated just like everybody else. So
yeah, and we talk about it, and then it's the thing. And like I said, me and that kid have talked about it and laugh about it over and over again. I was like, you made me snap, bro. You did it. Like, you still are the reigning champ. Like,
that's so good. You give him a belt.
He takes it with pride.
Yeah.
So
that's good. I have nothing to compare to that one.
Yeah, that's
like
great.
Everything else is so little compared to that. That's good.
It was just like a compilation of all of the things that already had happened.
Yeah.
So yeah. All right. So now we have our questions that were. We have a couple more questions, but we want to bring up one that was a voice memo. So here is one of those questions.
Hey, I was wondering why in Genesis God decided to give us free will and pick Adam and Eve when he knew exactly what they were going to choose. So he saw everything that was going to happen, and he saw that we were all going to sin as humanity. So why did he choose to create us anyway?
That's a great question.
I love that question. I love the questions from Genesis. And Genesis is my favorite book in the Bible. Mm-hmm. So Adrian's pointing at me because he's like,
I was like, well, you had any questions, and you were super excited when we first listened to it. So
yeah, first of all, when we're talking about Genesis, especially, and talking about God, we have to realize. I think that this is in Catechism. I think it's like paragraph 33, maybe, somewhere around there. It says something like, let me try to get this from memory. All human language falls short when we're talking about the greatness of God, you know? So whatever words we use to describe God, number one, you have to accept that it'll always fall short, okay? So the question is, why did God decide? And maybe God decides and maybe not, but what I know about God is that God is love, right. You know? So instead of saying, like, why did God decide, maybe we can just say, God just was God's self, because God is love, you know? And when the question is, why did God decide to give us free will? The opposite of free is enslaved, you know? So like God who is love wasn't going to decide to enslave us to him, you know? Right. So that's what I think of when I think of the question is like, God is love, and God, like, we became an extension of God's love, you know? God so much loved, like I think about fatherhood and parenthood. When love exists in your heart, it expands, you know, like you want, that's like the human condition, and that's how we also understand God. God's love in its nature expands, so it expanded into us. And we have free will because God is love. So
Right.
what else did I write here? I love the idea. I love the idea. I learned this, I don't know, maybe a few years ago, that if we didn't have free will, then we would essentially be enslaved. Like, that's very logical to me.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not what God wants at all.
Right.
So while a bunch of evil and a bunch of selfishness results from God giving us free will,
Yeah.
the
Mm-hmm.
opposite is not an option for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I can't believe in a God that forces us to love.
Mm-hmm.
That in itself is problematic for me,
Right.
theology wise.
Mm-hmm.
So, and you also think about parenthood. I did an interview with Koji from the Culture Project,
Oh yeah.
and I was put in that situation as well. It's like the same thing happens in our own life. Like, you're gonna have a kid. What
Mm-hmm.
happens when you have a kid.
Yeah.
The amount of suffering and the amount of vulnerability and sacrifice you're gonna have that comes with having a kid.
Right.
That kid could die. That could get addicted to drugs. That kid could
Right.
kill someone. Like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
And even while knowing all of that, my heart still is pulled towards making that leap to love.
Mm-hmm. Right.
God is love. God
Right.
is love. That's like the most basic thing that I was taught, and the very foundation of everything that we believe as Christians.
Right.
And if you believe that, you also have to believe in free will, because
Yeah.
tell me the line from Theology of the Body. Love is free, total,
Love is
faithful. Right?
Fruitful. Yeah.
Did I miss anything?
Free, total, and what was the
Fruitful?
last one? Fruitful. Yeah. I think
Yeah.
that's it. Yeah.
So, I mean, that all comes down to God being essentially love, So,
Right.
and yeah, so there's lots of questions that come with free will, but I always go back to God is love.
Right. Yeah, and similar to you, when I first heard it, took me a second to kind of process what the question was, and but after kind of sitting with it, and just it is simple. As you put it, it's as simple as just the fact that Christ is not a tyrannical God. I mean, God is not a tyrannical God, and if He was, I like you, I don't think I would be practicing Christianity, nor would I think it would be Christianity.
Right.
At that point. So it had to be part of it, right? There was always going to be that risk, like you said, and I think as you put it so beautifully, you're a kid. When you do have a child, they could hate you. They could end up doing drugs. They could end up dying. They could do all these things, but yet you still are free to love and free to do something and to create that. And I think it's beautiful the way you said it. And so I really have nothing more to add to that.
I love that question. Whoever that
Yeah.
was, thank you for that question.
Yeah, thank you so much for that one. We have another voice memo, which I'm going to pair to another question, which is asking about the engagement. For those of you who don't know, I recently got engaged.
Let's go!
Let's go! We're talking about love. Speaking of...
Big congrats to Adrian and Sarah.
Thanks, brother. Appreciate it. It was funny because after we would record, I told you, and I was like, I had to make sure that I did not accidentally add that to any of the.
How crazy would that be, dude?
Yeah, it's like, oops. So somebody asked for the engagement story, and then somebody also asked this, which I think we could pair off. Like, when did you realize / discern that God was calling you to marriage? And then this is so I'm going to pair all these three in one, and this is the voice memo.
At what moment, Adrian, did you know, truly know that Sarah was your future spouse?
There you go. So that's actually from my writer, Joe. So shout out to Joe. So the first one I'll go with, I'll answer. It's like, when did you realize discern that God was calling you to marriage? I was discerning priesthood quietly to myself after I broke up with my ex-girlfriend. My ex-girlfriend broke up with me back in college. And then, I was dating her for 4.5 years, decided to discern priesthood after that, quietly to myself, didn't tell anybody because I was like, I think I shared this before. I don't want anybody to be part of this decision, and I wanted to be me and God. And so kept it quiet. Then the only time people figured it out that I was discerning or got an inkling is when I went to this vocation awareness weekend where you go see the seminary and check it out. And I hung out there for a week, and it was awesome. It was really fun, but it just wasn't there. After praying about it, God kind of my family is like very lukewarm Catholic. And in prayer, a few weeks after that, it was just like, I had that calling to want to make my family name Catholic again, and raise a Catholic family that changes the culture within my family, and hopefully like reconvert some of my siblings and things like that, because I think that's going to be very beneficial to just the lineage of my family name. Amazing. And to hopefully continue that. And so that's the moment I realized the call to marriage, and then the time I felt I knew that Sarah was the one. There was never a significant moment for me. It was more so, just because she loved me so well, the way that I have never been loved by a girlfriend before. I just had this certainty, like, oh, this person loves me well and knows me well and is patient with me, and allows me to have a hobby that I desire, and doesn't get upset with me about it. Not saying that my other past girlfriends had, but there was always a pressure of like, I need to make sure I spend time with them more than I spend time with myself. But Sarah allowed me to, loves me in a way that she allows me to spend time with myself. As much as I'm an extrovert, I love to focus on my little projects like Living Ardently and collabing with people. And so she loves it and she supports me. And that's kind of like, the way that she loves me is really cool. And that's kind of, there was no significant moment that I can think of, but that was kind of the reasoning behind why I knew. And short engagement story, amazing. Basically, I tricked her into making her pick out a dinner spot.
No, you pick it.
Yeah, you pick it. Like I pretend like I had to pick up my friend from the airport who was helping me with the engagement, but I pretended she was here for another friend's birthday. So I pretended like I had to pick her up, go back to drive an hour to the airport, drive an hour back to drop her off, and drive another hour to go see her. So I told her, it's maybe too much to do it, so you pick a restaurant, I'll meet you there after I drop everyone there. Little did she know, she picked it up the next day, the day before, and we met at the restaurant an hour before I had this vision to propose to her at sunset in the dock. I wrote a song that I started back in 2016 that was intended for my future wife, that I finished. I would only finish the song when I met her.
That's beautiful.
And so I finished that song, and it's nothing super complicated, but it's very intimate. And we got to the place, and the place that she picked was perfect because it was right beside a dock. So you could literally walk out the restaurant and go into the dock. And I was like, wow, it's like God sent it, I just felt I was very calm the entire time. I was calm the days before. The only time I started to feel a little nervous was at dinner. I pretended to have a stomach ache, but I really was just nervous. I remember going like this. I went like this at one point. It's like, are you okay? I was like, yeah, I'm fine. I'm just I don't know, just super full. Maybe it's just a lot. This burger is just a lot or something like that. And I was like, do you want dessert? I was like, yes. I was like, I thought you were full. I was like, but I always have room for dessert.
That's good.
So then it's actually recorded, but it's a video. I set up my Apple headphones wrapped around my shirt.
Oh, dude!
So I have a video of the audio, and then my friends were recording the video across the lake. And so it was storming an hour before our reservation, It
Whoa.
like sideways, like hard rain. It stopped 15 minutes before our reservation. We got to dinner, cleared up, beautiful skies, sunny, like Florida, like Florida things. Had dinner. My friends set up the little things, like I had a lantern, candles, a ukulele for the song, and I had them set it up when we were eating dinner. Sent some coded text messages, and then once they were ready, they sent me a coded text message, and we went over there. And before we went over there, I was getting nervous. There was 6 people in the dock when she went to use the restroom before we went out. I was like, come on, people, you guys got to leave. We get out. By the time we get on the dock, there was nobody on there.
What?
It was just to ourselves. They didn't. I thought my friends had told them to leave, but they didn't.
Wow.
I was like, wow. So that was perfect. And the sunset was beautiful. I sang her the song. I proposed. She said yes. And it was great. She was crying.
Dang.
I was crying. I didn't think I was going to make it through the song. But I did. And yeah, then we lit up the lantern and let it go. And it was great. If you want to see pictures, there's pictures on my personal account. So go check that out.
Dude, God is good. You
Yeah.
had so many hiccups that could have just thrown it off.
Well, I guess I'm going to propose in the rain today.
That's insane.
I was ready for it. I was like, you know what? Let's just full send. But even with the
Holy.
rain, I wasn't even nervous about it. It was like, it'll clear up. It'll clear up.
Wow.
The day before, it was 80% chance. And then the day of, it was 20% chance. And then went back to 50% chance. You guys, you gotta stop playing with my heart. So,
Oh man.
do you have
congrats,
your quick?
man.
Thanks, man. I'm really excited. You guys will probably see her. I'll probably have her as a guest sometime soon or something like that. But
Yeah, let's do it. Should do it.
do you have your quick, your moment where you knew you were called to marriage, when you knew it was Bridget, and then?
Yeah. I feel you always are questioning. You're always thinking as you're dating. We dated for 6 years, and then I proposed, or we got married. But I graduated college and then made a decision to do a year of service with the Jesuit Volunteer Corps in inner city Detroit. And I swear to you, the moment that the doors closed on this megabus, I took a megabus to go to Detroit. The moment that the doors closed, I was like, mother, what am I doing? I was literally like, what am I doing?
Right.
And then I started crying, went into the seat, opened my journal, and then I was had some explicit language for Jesus. I was like, what the F are you leading me towards, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And that was a really tough time. But then
Yeah.
that's why I love journaling, is because of it's very, I know that I'm participating in this tradition, thousands of years old tradition called the Psalms, where people in the Bible just called out God, why would you do that? Why would you do this to me? Blah blah blah.
Yeah.
Because that psalm ended in hope of I guess this is how I know, that she's the one. And then I drew a picture of an engagement ring in that journal.
Wow.
That's how I knew. And then
That's
from then
awesome.
on, I think just a few months later, I bought an engagement ring. So
That's awesome.
yeah,
That's so
but
cool.
it was definitely a Paschal mystery experience. It's it's right from the get, I knew that there was going to be a lot of dying
Yeah.
on the way to what I knew so profoundly was going to be my vocation. So it was a year. It was at the very first day, the
Wow.
very first moment, the very first second, I knew that I had to go through this thing, and I could have left, but it wasn't that much of because I felt really called to do this year of mission.
Yeah.
So yeah, and now 7 years
That's
later, it feels like a blink,
Right.
So, but God
That's
is
awesome,
faithful,
though.
God is good, God is faithful, and the thing that you think is the end is not the end.
Right. That's
So,
true. And so many of us, when we're single, always think of our lifelong mission is to one graduate and then one get married. Two get married, right? Maybe the other way around, but like, and then like, then what? You know, like, then life is all perfect and flowers, and it's not, you know, like,
I know.
you have so much more to worry about once you get married, and it's a beautiful thing. And so Sarah and I, as we get to prepare for that, it's really awesome. And as you guys have 6 years under your belt is really cool.
Yeah, I can't wait for you to experience like all the amazing things that God has in store.
Yeah, one of our friends said, "I hope the wedding date's not too far off, so you can start living your dream." I was like, "Thanks, bro."
That's so funny.
Yeah. What's do you have a short version of your engagement story? You want to share?
We did. We went to the same grade school, high school, and college together.
Mm-hmm.
So I did a scavenger hunt with our three best friends: the grade school best friend, high school best friend, and college best friend.
Oh,
So they all had a clue, and then it led to the campus where we have a statue of Saint Ignatius in his, again, soldier garb, because he was a Spanish soldier.
Yeah.
In his soldier garb, laying down his cross on one knee, bro.
Wow.
We led her to that spot where Saint Ignatius like offered up his life, and then it was also a spot that was so meaningful to us. We proposed there. She said yes, and then took her to like a fun. We had dinner together alone, which is super fun, and then took her to like a surprise family party.
Nice.
So, it was crazy because I was like, we got into like a little blip. She's like, "You told everybody already?" I'm like,
No.
She's like, I can't wait to tell my mom. I'm like, your mom's at the engagement party.
That's so funny.
Little things that
Yeah.
I didn't think about, but
Right.
yeah, you can talk to people before you create your plan, and then you can work out those blips beforehand. But she was like a little bit upset, but then after she got there, she was like, "Oh my gosh, this is amazing," So
Yeah, that's so great. Yeah, we the surprise. I also did something similar where we were like, oh yeah, we're celebrating my friend's birthday at Disney Springs the next day, so that's make sure you plan for that. And it was really just our engagement like celebration party thing with friends. But it was cool, man. I love it. It's fun. Highly recommend. 10 out of 10 if you're called to marriage, get engaged.
Me too. Time. I endorse that.
So that's all we got.
Well, prayers for you, bro.
Yeah, thank you. Please pray for us as we prepare for our sacrament of Holy Matrimony. We were excited. We have some things in stone, but no, we have some things that are on the way to being planned. Nothing set in stone yet, but prayers for it, and prayers that COVID ends before then.
Amen.
Because we'll see how it goes, but we'll plan as we need to. So
yeah. All right, man.
That was great. Stuff. Thanks, Jurell. Thanks again. If you want to follow The Living Person, follow Jurell at the.living.person. You can follow Living Ardently at It's Only Adrian. At Living Ardently. You can follow me at It's Only Adrian. Send us an email at livingardentlypod@gmail.com. They can contact you through the page and through email as well.
Yeah, definitely. Keep on sending your questions. So it's fun.
Send the questions. Do the voice memos. Those are really fun to hear you guys come
on
and do that. And yeah, the questions you guys have for this week was awesome. We're saving a ton for next month. And if you guys want something particular, if you guys want us to do like a episode where it's just about youth ministry or separate from a Q&A, and we just do a youth ministry based one, or something that's about marriage and relationship, like we can do that too. That's something that we can also bring in guests, so it's not just Jurell and I. We just we can bring somebody in and interview them. I think it'd be a lot of fun. So
yeah, let us know. That'd be
let us know
fun.
What you guys want to do, and we'll try some things next month and see how it goes. Okay.
Cool.
Thanks, guys. Make sure you like and subscribe if you're watching on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast. Leave us a review. All that good stuff. Make sure you're following anywhere that you are. love you all. Thank you so much for your love and support. Follow us and do all that good stuff. Anything else?
Keep living ardently.
Peace. Brandon, we're gonna get shirts.
I love it.
See you guys. God bless.
See ya.